Today I want to share with you some exercises for the bow, which you can do without the instrument. I've only done this with a violin bow, so I can't speak for other string instruments, but I've learned these from various teachers over the years, and I wanted to share them. So starting with the ideal bow hold, which I was taught, starts like with a fox, with the thumb across from the middle two fingers. Thumb goes in this corner between the leather and the stick in that corner. The two fingers come across and lay flat against the bow. Then the index finger comes more or less between the metal and the leather, and the pinky on the top of the stick. Sometimes the stick is a hexagon, sometimes it's round, but it should be on top and not on the side. Then about 1 finger's width of space in between each finger, so not scrunched together apart. And then eventually there should be flexibility for this angle. So that's, and then round thumb, not touching the hair, and round pinky. Let's start starting position. And then some exercises include ironing board. It's good to do this in front of a mirror. I can see on the monitor if it's parallel or not. And elevator. Also try to do this on a carpet, because your bow probably will drop at some point. Elevator. Windshield wipers. Keep the pinky round, and when you come back to this side, you will feel this muscle that needs to stop the bow. Okay, and then spider up the wall. So here you have your position, and then try to use all fingers actively, including the thumb, to climb your way up the bow, while keeping the bow as still as possible, so not waving around, also not twirling back and forth. All the way to the tip, and then climb back down. Down is much harder than up. And try to keep the bow still. And then the same thing, once you've got that, sideways. And keep the bow still, and keep the pinky on top. Don't let it slide off. And here the difficulty changes, and the feeling of and balance of the bow changes a lot more as you move down, because the weight of the bow is not even. It's much heavier at the frog than at the tip, and so when you come to the tip you will feel it a lot differently in your hand. Trying to keep the bow as still as possible. I don't do these every day, but when I first started learning violin, I did it once every day at the start of my practice, once back and forth for each direction. So now you're going to try to find every bow has a balance point, you see, where the weight is more or less even on both sides. So try to find that. And then with the two fingers directly across from each other, have the bow hair below the stick, and then roll it above, up and down, while trying to keep it as still as possible in the horizontal direction. So you are using the upper finger as well as the thumb to roll the bow. I keep my elbow extended because it helps me to keep my hand still and to not get lazy. But it's quite tiring, so take breaks in between if you need. 10 times on each finger. So now, and always make sure that the working finger and the thumb are directly across from each other. Find the balance. And up and down, like so. And after 10 you can switch. And this sort of wakes up the fingers. And gets them active. Okay, so those are some starting exercises. Other ones now include a bit more strength and are in the actual bow hold position. Strength and flexibility. So now for this one, I hold my forearm with the other hand to stabilize it, because I want all the joints be after the elbow. So the wrist, these knuckles, and the fingers basically. So wrist, base, knuckles, and fingers to all work together to bring the bow as high above the arm as possible and as low. And the tricky thing why you need the last knuckles here is similar to the rolling that we just did. You want the hair facing the ground, so the hair and the stick should be parallel, because if you just keep your hand still, your bow will draw a circle like this, but you want to use your fingers to keep the bow in one direction. This is really hard. But it really forces you to use all of the muscles as well as coordinate them and gain flexibility. I really feel it burning here in that pinky muscle to keep the bow hairs facing down and to keep the bow parallel to the ground. So that's up and down. There are 3 directions. Yeah, so that was vertical, this is horizontal. Here also you don't want the bow to draw an arc this way, but ideally like the ironing board shape. So straight across railroad tracks. And then now you will use your fingers, the wrist doesn't really move here, to draw the bow tip towards you and away from you, all while trying to maintain this plane. Using your fingers. Okay. Shake out your arm if you need. And draw some circles using all of the muscles. Whoops, my bow tip is rising. I want the hair parallel to the ground. Make sure your pinky is round and not collapsing, and that your thumb is also round and not concave. Because once this is like this, you don't have as much space for movement within the hand. So other direction. Don't take me as a perfect example. My hand looks like a witch. But I'm just showing you my attempts. So yeah, do both directions. And then As a final little challenge, I like to do for the strength of this and balance, to use just the thumb and the pinky to balance the bow. And to cheat, you will want to brace your thumb against the hair. So don't do that. So there are only 2 points of contact, not 3. I don't know if you can see, so 2 points of contact and not 3. 2, and then you try to balance. Okay, so those are my exercises. I hope you try them out and see if any of them help you. I learned these from different teachers throughout my life, including Mr. Kawasaki, Miss Nakura, Mr. Blacher, and Miss Chumachenko said in a lesson once that if your left hand is like the colors of paint, your right hand is the paintbrush. So no matter how many colors you have, it makes a huge difference whether you paint with a wall paint roller or with a very fine brush, and how many different varieties you have available. So yes, you don't see the right hand move as much as the left when you play, but each finger should actually be just as active. And I hope these sort of help you wake up your right hand fingers.